All right, let's talk about possessive nouns. Possessive noun is any noun that owns or has something, possesses something. When we're writing, the way we indicate to a reader that a noun owns or has something is by using an apostrophe. So possessive nouns is one of two times that we use apostrophes. The other time is for contractions, such as don't or didn't, can't. We use an apostrophe when using a contraction. Can't is cannot, don't is do not. But the other time that we use apostrophes is for possessive nouns. Let's take a look at some examples. All right, here's a very simple sentence. John's shirt is white. As you're going to see, there's an apostrophe after the N in the name John. And the reason why is because we want everyone to know that the shirt belongs to John, that John owns something. What does John own? John owns a shirt. So we use the apostrophe to let readers know that John owns a shirt. Now there are a couple of rules about how we use apostrophes to make nouns possessive. Now remember, there are two different types of nouns when it comes to possessives. There are singular nouns and plural nouns. Singular nouns have their own rules for how the apostrophe is used, and so do plural nouns. They have also their own rules for how and where the apostrophe is placed. So let's take a look at each of these one at a time. All right, with singular nouns, it's very easy. And the reason why is there's only one rule when it comes to making singular nouns possessive. And that is that all singular nouns are always made possessive by adding an apostrophe S to the end of the noun. Let's take a look at some examples. Here's another very simple sentence. The boy's book has a green cover. In this particular sentence, our singular noun is boy. And the way we make boy possessive is by adding apostrophe S. Very simple. So again, we follow the rule that all singular nouns, no matter what, always are made possessive by just simply adding an apostrophe S to the end, just as we did with boy. Sometimes when singular nouns end in S, it can be a little tricky, but again, just refer back to the rule that all singular nouns, no matter what, always are made possessive by adding an apostrophe S to the end. So here we have bus. What if we were to use bus in a sentence and make this possessive? Well, the way we would make bus possessive, again, following our rule, is we're just going to add an apostrophe S. So a sentence might be, the bus's tire is flat. And again, our possessive noun there is buses, right? Whose tire is flat? The bus's tire is flat. And it's apostrophe S because bus is a singular noun. So just to review, remember, all singular nouns, no matter what, are always made possessive by adding an apostrophe S to the end of them. It can be a singular noun that ends in any letter in the alphabet, including S, as it was in this example with bus. Whose tire is flat? The bus's tire is flat. How do we make bus, which is a singular noun, possessive? Following our rule, we just add an apostrophe S to the end of bus, and we've made it possessive. So singular nouns, very, very simple. Always remember, it's always an apostrophe S. With plural nouns, there are two rules for how we make plural nouns possessive. But before we go into what the two rules are, first thing you want to always remember is, depending on what the noun is you have to first put it into its plural form if it's not already in its plural form. So let's take a look at an example. This will give you an idea of what we're talking about. All right, so here we have a noun, child. Is child singular or plural? If you said singular, you're correct. That's a singular noun. And if we were to make that singular noun possessive, we would just add apostrophe S. But we want this to be plural, and we want it to be a plural possessive. So how do we do that? Well, let's first put child into its plural form. And the way to do that is to change this from child to children. Now it's in its plural form. All right, here's the first rule. If the plural noun does not end in S, okay, again, repeat, does not end in S, then we just simply add an apostrophe S to make it possessive. So let's go back to children. And let's see how we would make this plural. So children, does that end in S or does it not end in S? Children does not end in S, correct. So the way we make children possessive is to just simply add an apostrophe S. Right? Very good. The second rule with plural nouns that we're trying to make possessive is if the plural noun does end in an S, then add an apostrophe after the S, as we did right here in the parentheses. Let's take a look at an example of one of those. All right, car. Car is a singular noun, so going back to our first rule over here, let's put car into its plural form. And the way we put car into its plural form is we just add an S. Now we have it in its plural form. Now this is, if we look at rule number 2, a plural noun that ends in S. So all we do here to make cars possessive is we just add an apostrophe after the S. And now it's possessive. So there you have our 2 rules on plural nouns. Number 1, if the plural noun does not end in S, just add an apostrophe S to make it possessive. If the plural noun does end in an S, as cars do, or does, just simply add an apostrophe after the S. If you can remember those 2 rules with plural nouns, then possessives is very, very simple. Let's review what we've learned so far. Singular nouns are always, no matter what, even when they end in S, such as bus, made possessive by adding apostrophe S. That's probably the simplest rule of all. So anytime you see a singular noun, you need to make it possessive, just add apostrophe S, always, no matter what. Second rule, and this is the rule with plural nouns, is that plural nouns that do not end in S are made possessive by adding apostrophe S. In our example of children, meaning more than one, so that's a plural noun, is made possessive by just adding apostrophe S. Plural nouns that do end in S are made possessive by adding an apostrophe after the S. And most plural nouns will end in an S. There are very few plural nouns that do not end in an S. Children is one, woman is another, men is another. So there are a couple that do not end in S, but the vast majority of plural nouns will end in an S. So if it's a plural noun and you need to make it possessive, just add an S after, or just add an apostrophe after the S.